Hey guys, it's Matt and we're back, and this is like the third time we did this, but this is a new episode of the how to play, and Michael's gonna show us the shadow deck. Take it away, Mike.
All right, so Shadolls, they were just introduced a few weeks ago. Not many people know how to play them. The only reason I know how to play them is because I saw somebody else playing them, and I was like, that deck seems really cool and horribly overpowered. I want to make it because, of course, if it's overpowered, you're going to make it. Anyway, so Shadolls, a good analogy that I like to use is if Light Sworns and Dark Worlds had a baby, bastard child, and it created these things. And honestly, I think that that's probably the best analogy that you can really come up with to describe this deck. Uh, they benefit quite a bit from being sent to the graveyard, but they also have the additional ability of being flip effect monsters. Very uncommon. You don't see them very much anymore. They've been around for ages, but we haven't really had a flip effect monster archetype until now, which is the Shadolls. So this introduces a very interesting predicament for your opponent because they can attack, but they'll activate the flip effect, or they can destroy with a car effect, but then you get the destroyed and sent to the graveyard by a car effect. Yeah. um, you
Effect
can play
section.
off this very well though. Be quiet, Matt. This is my video. Uh, you can play on this quite easily by using something like Dark World or something like Torrential Tribute. Um, yeah, this is also the newest of the fusion archetypes because they have fusion monsters like this and this. And if you also look at their field spell card, you can also tell it's meant to be fusions. Uh, Not only that, but they have this very fascinating fusion spell card that benefits from your opponent having cards from the extra deck. Thankfully, Matt has done that for me, just so we have some kind of visual representation. So with Shadow Fusion, if they have a card on their field from the extra deck, so if it was sent to the graveyard and then they special summoned it from that, that doesn't really work. But with this, right now, pretend that that was just summoned. It works. And the interesting thing about this is that it lets you fusion summon from your deck. So let's say, oh, hey, he is a really big, strong monster. Maybe he summoned a five-headed dragon or something. Well, I can, I don't know, send this and this. And what you know, I have Nephilim and it's dead. Nephilim's very interesting because it also makes it so when it attacks a monster that was special summoned, doesn't have to be from the extra deck, it automatically gets destroyed. Doesn't apply damage to either of you or anything, so it can totally take on a monster with way higher attack than it. Another interesting thing about the fusion monsters is that whenever they are sent to graveyard, whether it's by your opponent or yourself, you get to add a shadow card from your graveyard to your hand. Big problem with this, though, and I feel like this might change due to naming, is that there's only two cards that really works with. Uh, it's the Shadow Fusion as well as the Shadow Roots. Uh, Shadow Roots is also very interesting because it's a trapped monster. Not many of those. And yeah, there's also the other support card is Facing the Shadow. Facing the Shadows. It should probably have been called Facing the Shadolls. But this lets you flip your monster's face up, get the flip effects. You can also send something from your deck to the graveyard to get its effect. And yeah, another good card for this deck is Instant Fusion, just because it lets you summon out the X Shadow Midrash very easily. That's very good for synchro summons and such. And yeah, that's basically most of the archetype support and stuff. Few other good cards, Foolish Burial, again, lets you send them from your deck to the graveyard for the effect. Super Poly, because you get to discard one, and then you get to fusion summon. They are, again, sent from the field to the graveyard by a card effect, so you get that effect as well. Dark World Dealings, also works very well with this deck for the exact same reason it works well with Dark Worlds. And the last two major support cards that I like to use is the Grisaille Prison. I'm sure Matt couldn't possibly pronounce that whatsoever. And again, it just kind of locks down your opponent. Or I shouldn't say again. I'm sorry, this is the third or fourth time we've tried recording, so yeah, it just stops your opponent from doing anything. Soul Charge allows you to special summon stuff from the graveyard. Also very nice. And yeah, let's actually get into what's in this deck. This is very spontaneous, guys. Yeah, so we have the Shadow Falcon, we have Shadow Dragon, Shadow Lizard, Shadow Beast, and Shadow Hedgehog, and I believe those are the 5 Shadow monsters, main monsters. Shadow Falcon is interesting because if it gets sent to your graveyard by a card effect, you get to special summon it in face down defense position. And when it gets flipped up, you can special summon a different Shadow monster in your graveyard in face down defense position. Shadow Lizard works very well with the field spell card because if it gets sent by a card effect, you get to send another one from your deck to the graveyard. It can also work normally anyway, as it is kind of a search, but it sends it to the graveyard, so that's kind of interesting of an effect. Shadow Dragon lets you return a card to the hand. This is very good for dealing with things like Zen mains and that kind of stuff. It's not very easy to destroy. Also, if it's sent to the graveyard, it basically works as an MST, just destroy whatever you want. Shadow Beast is a lot of your draw power. When it's flipped face up, you draw 2 cards and discard 1. And when it gets sent, you get to draw 1 card. Hedgehog is your main direct search. If it gets flipped face up, you basically add the fusion spell to your hand. If it gets sent, you get to add a monster. And now you're probably thinking, wow, this archetype seems horribly, horribly overpowered. And in many ways, it kind of is. But it does have a natural limiter, and that is you can only use one of their effects once per turn. Meaning that, say I flip summon Shadow Beast and I have another one in my hand, I can't draw 2 cards and then discard the other Shadow Beast for a third. It doesn't quite work like that. You have to basically decide, are you going to try using the flip effect, or are you going to use the effect of it being sent to the graveyard? And, yeah. The fusion monsters as well, we kind of talked about them a bit earlier, but there's one other thing I want to bring up with them, because they both have 3 effects. I only talked about 3 of the overall 6. Nephilim, when it gets special summoned, it lets you send another Shadow card from your deck to the graveyard. Again, that works very well with the field spell. You don't need it, though. It's fine on its own, because that basically means that, oh, hey, I get to, I don't know, destroy a spell and trap card, or I get to search a card out and put it to my hand. Another really good, or the other fusion monster that's also very, very good, can't be destroyed by your opponent's card effects, and neither player can special summon more than once a turn. This basically destroys Xyz decks as well as Synchro decks and all of that kind of fun stuff that you don't really want to be dealing with, because it means that your opponent can't really special summon much. It also limits you somewhat, but generally you don't have to worry about all that much. Alright, so let's talk about some of the cards that you might use in some of the other monsters you'd use in this deck that aren't actually Shadolls. Because this is Chaos, of course, you want to run Blackluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. It's a solid card. It's probably the staple of most Chaos decks. If you don't know, because you're a noob, Chaos deck basically just means it's light and dark. Your main light monster that you'll run in this deck is the AD Changer. And this little thing is crazy because he might be small, but he can save your life because he can change monsters' battle positions. So if you might have taken a lethal amount of damage, you can stop that. You can try to defend yourself. Uh, and overall, it's just a really good light monster to use because you're not actually ever going to summon it. And of course, there's Dark Grepher. Again, for the same reason you like Shadow Lizard, it just lets you get cards from your deck to the graveyard, and that's really good for this deck. You really want to be doing that quite a bit, as that's just how the combos work. Ideal first turn or second turn play, I actually managed to get this off earlier, is just to use the Shadow Fusion. Where is it? Just use the Shadow Fusion and special summon maybe a Midrash. Perhaps you'll also have a Dark Grepher or something of that sort on the field as well. First turn, this basically locks down a lot of decks because you can't kill Midrash with card effects, and it makes so your opponent can't special summon more than once. So, and this is the big thing with Xyz decks as well as Synchro decks, is that in order to do that, generally you need to special summon at least twice to do anything, and Midrash just makes it so you can't. So, elemental heroes are actually, funnily enough, because Matt's using them, it does kind of dodge it a little bit because fusion monsters you only need to special summon once. Xyz monsters, on the other hand, don't quite work that well. However, if they do manage to slip through the Midrash, you have Nephilim, and Nephilim will just instantly go ahead and kill any of the fusion monsters with one attack. So, unless they can't be destroyed by card effects, in which case, well, that's a whole nother problem altogether. Overall, this deck has very good balance. I like it. Other things in the extra deck you might want to run other than the fusion monsters would perhaps be BLs, just because that's probably one of the more solid of the 8-cost synchro monsters. You might want to run the hot Red Dragon Archfiend. Man, that thing's hot. I really like that card. Yeah, I'm not sure why it's called the hot Red Dragon Archfiend. I'm sure they could have come up with something a bit more interesting. Another card that's very nice is the Tempest Magician. The reason this is a good card is because Falcon's only a level 2, but using its effect, you can basically easily special summon anything in the ranges of 5 to 7. Yeah, Tempest Magician, the reason I like it is because it adds a little bit of burn to the deck, which can really help with just whittling down your opponent's life points. The other reason I like it is because it means that you can discard any Shadolls that you want to discard, get all of their effects, and just really make your opponent cry and be like, why did I have to be matched up against Shadolls? It's so overpowered. And to those of you that are really good at math and you're wondering, how the heck do you get out of level 8? Because there aren't really level 6s that are practical. I run Gen X Ally Birdman. And I find that also works very well because, well, when you flip summon a monster, you can't really easily flip it back face down. You can do that, though, with Gen X Ally Birdman because you put it back to your hand to summon it, and after that, you can just set it back face down. And that means that you can kind of reuse the effects. And it works quite well. Yeah, that's basically actually all the cards in my deck. Now that I'm looking at it, most of them I just run lots of multiples of. There are other cards that are good with this deck. I haven't looked at all of them, but I have been told this is very good build. And yeah, that's the end of the deck review, I guess. Yeah.
Well, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this. Thank you, Michael, for showing this new deck that came out a few weeks ago. I hope you guys enjoyed as well.
We enjoy making these. Like and subscribe to show that you enjoy these, and we'll keep making them.
If you also, guys, if you have any suggestions, write it in the comment below, and we'll try. Well, I'll try to find someone who's good with these decks, or if it's me, then I'll do it myself. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed. At the end of the video, there will also be a picture of this deck as well, so you guys can pause it and then just look at the deck and try to make it yourself and change it as well. If you find one thing doesn't work, then you can tell us as well in the comments as well. So yeah, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. Peace out.